Greetings sailors and welcome back to All the Warships and a ranked replay. I think this is the first one I've shown of these in a while. Haven't been playing it myself of the last couple of seasons, but you know, I'm vaguely aware it exists. And I kind of like the format, the way they've done it with the boosters. It's just the tiers often that they choose are not that interesting to me. It's quite often tier 10 or tier 8. I think they've done tier 7 as well at some point. It'd be interesting to have some lower tier ones, but I don't know. There's a lot of ships I feel like kind of get left out, and you end up with certain ships that just end up being overly strong for the format, and quite often some of them happen to be premium ones as well. Not that I'm cynical or anything. So this is a long-time viewer, Jerry Atterick, who is possibly a familiar name if you watch... well, I know he's a mod on Rita Gamer's stream. I don't know... He probably looks on other streams as well, but he also comes and watches my stream quite often. And he's also the guy that helped me out with my last round of computer upgrades, because I'm always a bit lost with that stuff. I'm kind of competent enough to be able to put the bits together, which is relatively easy these days. Everything is quite modular compared to how it used to be, I guess. But actually picking out the right stuff that's suitable for me within my budget, I would just be sat there scratching my head if I had to do it on my own. So having somebody that actually has an idea what they're talking about to give recommendations is absolutely invaluable. So this is the GK. It's a ship. Jerry has said he doesn't enjoy playing that much, but he found it quite useful this season. He doesn't otherwise play it that much, but he's clearly got it set up for maximum range secondaries, which is, I guess, not a bad idea for ranked in particular. Your survivability is enhanced a bit just overall because you've got the ticking bonuses that you can get picked up. So there's already a ticking heal going on, and there's maneuverability improvement going on as well, and there's another one. So that's quite useful when you're in a big target like this, and there is a Smolensk and a Salem on this flank as well, not to mention that Moskva down there, so we might well be subject to quite a bit of HE spam, but at the moment it's the Des Moines that went forward that's getting all the attention. One other thing he did say when I was asking him about this game is that he was quite possibly drunk when he was playing this. He's probably not the only person in the player base that finds a bit of alcohol helps them along when they're playing ranked games. I guess it's not really surprising, but yeah, sometimes it can be a bit more frustrating because it's not just like random games where you're just playing the game, and sure, it's nice to win, but there's not like a specific goal otherwise, whereas in ranked you are obviously playing to try and progress up the ranks to get the rewards, and therefore that can actually make it a rather more frustrating experience potentially, especially if you get saddled with teammates that just don't really seem to have a clue and feel like they should be still playing tier 4 or something. But that's not going to be the case in this game. He has got enough competent teammates to be going on with, so it's really just a case of seeing how he performs. And it's not been a super exciting game so far. He's just been putting shells down range at things that do get targeted. Neither team's actually lost any ships, and we're getting on towards halfway through this match already. So yeah, it's quite a cautious start, but that's possibly not a bad thing for ranked really overall. You don't want everyone rushing in and dying at once. So he gets a nice side shot into that Minotaur, who's for some reason pushing the middle, and although they kill the friendly Harugamo, they themselves get killed by the Harugamo as they die. So obviously the big chunk of health that Jerry took off was a big factor there. And there's also an enemy what was that, Des Moines or something? There was another ship that went down as well. Was it the... I didn't see what it was. Was it the Moskva? No, the Moskva's still alive. I don't know. Anyway, there was another ship that went down at the same time. So, yes, they lost their destroyer. Oh, it's the enemy Halland. That was it. So both teams have lost their destroyers, and they've lost that Minotaur as well. So they're just a little ahead on points right now. And maybe have a little momentum going on here at least, because that GK is possibly pushing the middle. It might be they're just trying to get that boost, but with the threat of the Halland out the way and without any immediate threat of a battleship, Jerry has felt a bit more confident to push up. But he does still have the Salem and of course the Smolensk firing at him, and the GK, well, potentially they would have shots on his side, but they've positioned themselves in the middle to maybe shoot at the Allied Smolensk or try and get shots across to the north of where the A-cap usually is. Is it the A-cap on that side? I can't remember. But as it is, he doesn't have to worry about that, and so he's just fairly confidently pressing forwards now. Taking a look at what's over there just to keep tabs on everyone's health, and as it turns out, actually can manage a shot on the GK as well. Although possibly underleads a little bit there. I think he does that once or twice. Not that I want to talk. As I've noted in previous videos, I can be quite bad at that sometimes. It sometimes takes me a little while to actually dial in my shots. I think considering that there was a certain degree of inebriation, that Jerry's probably doing really quite well in terms of actually hitting what he's aiming at most of the time. So he's now just crowding out this pair of cruisers, although it could be argued this might be a bit bold considering the pair of them, but he's going into this with a lot of health. There's 3 health boosts going on now. The cap circle has appeared, which it does after I think 8 minutes. So that's now there to be fought over. The enemy team have lost another ship in the meanwhile, and so overall it looks like this team is doing fairly well. And if I'd been Jerry, I might have maybe been a bit more cautious about this, but he's just charged in and is actually going to rack up some nice damage against these cruisers as a result. And these cruisers are kind of out of the fight. I mean, if he'd gone into the middle, they might have been able to continue to get fire in from this flank, but as it is, they really now have to deal with him, and they're not doing so terribly effectively. I mean, the Smolensk is smoked up, and the Salem's now trying to scuttle behind this island, but they're taking secondary hits all the while. And so that really just leaves him versus the Smolensk, who is doing their best to, you know, do Smolensk things. Now, in this particular section, this is basically his one big mistake in this video. He's in a GK. It's a German battleship. It has hydro. What does the Smolensk have that hydro would be useful against? Well, we're about to see any moment. And it's a good thing that he's heading bow on towards this Smolensk and isn't giving him more broadside, because otherwise the consequences could be rather nasty. Although, talking of broadside, there goes that Salem who decided just to kind of ignore him, give Jerry broadside, and has managed to get blatted out of existence as a result. So now, apart from the Smolensk, everything that's left is on the other side. So there's the Smolensk. They've come out of their smoke, which is presumably about to go, or maybe they assumed that Jerry would be using his hydro, which would have probably been quite useful if he had, but he has the hit points to absorb it, and he's still getting that ticking heal, and he actually pops one of his regular heals as well. So given that he's survived, unless he gets very unlucky here, surely he can take down a Smolensk. Well, you know, it's always RNG's is willing, but even if he died at this point, I think he would have done his bit for the team in terms of actually winning this. Everyone else is crowded into the middle. They've got the cap. There's only 2 ships left on the other side, so there's not that much chance that they're actually going to lose this at this point. Now, I'm not sure why he goes to high explosive here. Maybe he doesn't want to run the risk of over-penning the Smolensk, but well, as it turns out, I mean, of course, this is German high explosive, but it gets the quarter pen instead of the 6th pen. So actually, it does quite well. You get some citadels out of that. So maybe this was the smart move against Smolensk with the German battleship HE. And given that this is large caliber HE, this is, I think he's using the big guns here. The, was it 420? Because you get 406s and then you get the 420 mils on the GK. But anyway, yeah, as it turns out, even though the guy smoked up again, he's able to get the shots. I think with the Hydra going this time, obviously that was quite useful. It actually detonates the Smolensk, which was very nearly the last thing in that game because that was just before they won. So 154,000 damage, fireproof and dreadnought, and that earned him the top place on the team. I mean, it was kind of a sidebar to what was going on the rest of the map in terms of chasing down those 2 cruisers, but the fact that he chased down those 2 cruisers and took them out meant they couldn't harass the middle, and it left the rest of his team to concentrate on mopping up the rest of the enemy team. So overall, like I said, I think even if he had died there, if he'd been more incautious than he was in terms of taking torpedoes, or if the Salem had played a bit more effectively against him and maybe tried to put some AP into his broadside, which would have brought his health a lot lower at the point where he was taking torps. I don't know, you know, he could have died there, but I don't think it would have changed the overall outcome of that game. And so, yeah, considering that there was an amount of inebriation involved, I think overall that was a pretty decent result. So I want to end this just by reminding everyone, you know, if you want to send me with your replays, the way to do it is listed down in the or the email to do it is listed down in the video description. You can either send me the replay file directly, or you can upload it to somewhere like Replays Wows. But either way, at the moment it has to be current patch ones. We still have this issue where I can't play older replays, unfortunately, which means the big pile of old replays I have, including from Patreon supporters, is currently unusable. So yes, if you have a good current patch replay, I'll be happy to take a look at it and maybe even feature it on my channel, because, you know, that's part of what I do. And if you really like what I'm doing, you can always go and support me on Patreon as well. I do occasionally remember to pimp myself, but only occasionally. So that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, you can do all the usual things down underneath with the, you know, the like and subscribe buttons. And of course, as always, stay tuned for more.